went to the polls and with resounding support from all of the state's 83 counties, approved Law 1 of 2008, the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act.
This law has opened up doors they could drive a truck through. From law enforcement's perspective, I can tell you it's going to be very, very difficult to rein it in now.
While Cutter says he has the utmost sympathy for suffering patients, he thinks the law is too vague and it will be hard to keep things limited to sick patients.
Joseph Casillas says he was a model Walmart employee, and that's the reason that he's fighting this termination. Now, the law isn't exactly clear on this issue. In one place, it says that people using medical marijuana shall not be punished by a business if they are using it properly. But then again, in another place, it says that businesses should not have to accommodate employees working under the influence of marijuana.
The medical marijuana will be produced, obviously, in much larger quantities. There will be much larger quantities in the state of Michigan than it was before. And quantities much larger than any patient can consume. That overage is going to end up somewhere, like I said before. And
how can you justify cutting your citizens off from having a decent paying job?
I think the legislature's got their work cut out for them on this. I think the law is so, it's open to a lot of interpretation, put it to you that way.
We can't pass this because it will allow for California-style dispensaries, is what Attorney General Schuette said. And if he's intellectually honest, he will say that this law allows for dispensaries.
Places there were loose alligators running around protecting the product. I mean, this is Michigan. This isn't a Cheech and Chong movie.
Yep, he is the Royal Oak City Commissioner. Chuck, let me start with you for a moment here. You have been very vocal about you don't want marijuana, you don't like it, you don't like the Michigan law, yet the voters approved the law by about a 63% of the vote. What's going on here?
Well, I can agree with you 100% on the vote outcome. The majority of voters in Michigan expressed their opinion, and they wanted a medical marijuana.
Comments are coming in, yes. So here, I'll go through a few of them. Thinks for Self says, after making the distinction that medical marijuana has been voted by the people and legislated, what's the discussion about, unless you do not believe in democracy and majority rules?
When it's delineated in the statute, you can have no more than 12 plants. A caregiver can have no more than 5 patients. Everybody has to be registered. That's what's allowed.
And Archie,
they got me on growing conspiracy to manufacture 5 to 45 kilos.
Yeah.
Same shit. I'm a caregiver with 2 cards and 2 on the way.
Yeah, but they knew that before they arrested you.
It was on the front page of the paper.
And they didn't take your plants to begin with, did they?
They took my big plants.
Right away?
They took my monster plants.
Those are outside or what?
8 clones. Yeah. Outside 2 approved greenhouses.
Oh boy.
Locked in closed facility.
Okay, so you've got some representation. You got a lot of support. Yeah, you've been happy with your support?
It's all good. That's normal.
Yeah, you got a lot of support. You're going to be all right.
I'm not worried.
Stop arresting patients, they chanted. Hundreds of medical marijuana patients and supporters marched to the Capitol with that message Wednesday.
The law is not protecting the people. That's why we're here today.
They're calling on clarification.
We wanted to call attention to the failure of the state to issue clear guidelines on the medical marijuana program.
A program that was passed by 63% of Michigan voters.
We're currently not happy.
But instead of being protected by the law, these protesters feel they're being prosecuted.
Medicine's being taken from them.
They are being arrested. There are a lot of those. This is extremely distressing to the patients.
So they're calling on the Attorney General for help.
We want the Attorney General to give guidelines to the prosecuting attorneys and law enforcement.
Attorney General Mike Cox's office sent this letter to the Michigan Department of Community Health asking them to take action to provide more detailed definitions of the law. But the Department of Community Health says,
how can it be clarified or how can it be changed? I don't know if it can be because, again, it was voted by the people.
Well,
I'm extremely happy that this is passed. Ecstatic would be it. I mean, I've worked long and hard for this.
Over the last decade,
I worked at this.
Greg Francisco has been pushing for the legalization of medical marijuana in Michigan. The Paw Paw resident is executive director of the Michigan Medical Marijuana Association, a network of advocates, patients, caregivers, and doctors.
I talk to people that are in intense pain, that are unable to get out of bed, and then through their use of medical marijuana, again, are able to function and interact with their children and their grandchildren. I know that marijuana really is medicine, that it truly is medicine, and this truly does offer a relief to people that are suffering. See a not-for-profit cooperative type distribution system. We would hope that we do not see dispensaries or so-called pot shops, which are for-profit business.
And the quantities are one of the biggest problems, the overage, because the quantities that could be grown are so grossly large and exceed what a person can smoke.
That's what we lawyers call speculation.
Even Cheech and Chong couldn't smoke the amount of marijuana that could be grown with these 12 plants 4 times a year.
Enforcement-wise, what we're telling our local officers is that they need to contact their local prosecutors, the type of enforcement that they want done. Do they want the person arrested? Do they want the plant seized? Those types of issues that have to be decided locally.
So we're kind of like lost in the dark here, trying to decide, well, when do we enforce? When don't we enforce? What do we do if somebody wants to open a dispensary? What do we want to do if somebody wants to have a community room where people want to gather and talk about medical marijuana and smoke it? It's a problem.
Cannabis, whatever you call it, there are a growing number of people who rely on it to fight pain, survive chemotherapy, and make it through the day.
The leg to diabetes, and her hands are gnarled by rheumatoid arthritis. Thursday night, she and a handful of other patients passed around a joint in the lounge of the Mid-Michigan Compassion Club's clubhouse, an old bait shop on Sydney Road in Stanton. It's in a back room decorated with old furniture. She took 5 hits. She says it beats taking pills.
They don't do that for any other treatment. In fact, Judge Turner said in the opinion in Redden, sounds like it happens when I go to my doctor. That's his quote. Read the transcript.
There's not an established physician-patient relationship in that case, and that's how that case lost. You have no problem with that, do you?
Well, I do have a problem with that.
Wow.
In fact, the Court of Appeals ruled that there was not. The Circuit Court ruled there was not adequate evidence of a bona fide physician-patient relationship. That's the case that was just referred to of the Colorado ophthalmologist. Now, what you need to know is that Colorado ophthalmologist is also a licensed Michigan physician. So the fact that he's from Colorado is completely irrelevant. Furthermore, the fact that he's an ophthalmologist...
relationship? The guy went and met your client for what, a couple of sessions?
Type of a specialist, you don't spend more than a few minutes with that specialist. Why is this pain specialist any different than any other physician? And if you have a problem with the physician, the proper remedy is to file a complaint against the physician's license. As long as the physician is licensed in Michigan, the physician has the authority to write a recommendation, and no court should get between a doctor and a patient.
The courts have ruled that if we smell marijuana, we can actually search. That's probable cause to search a vehicle. I anticipate this will be a topic for a number of years to come. That's every legal update I do will be something about medical marijuana.
I can smell it, and it's coming off of you.
And it is an issue that police are already dealing with in the community.
Patient, you're on a traffic stop right now. We're not in a doctor's office.
And so until, or even if the law faces a court challenge and or undergoes revision by state lawmakers, those whose job it is to enforce the law say they are handcuffed.
It has hampered our ability to investigate. It has hampered our ability to prosecute. And the real question is, should we be putting resources into this anymore, or should we take those resources and put them somewhere else, like into crack, heroin, methamphetamine? And I think the resounding answer from 63% of the people is yes.
On the federal side, it's still an illegal substance, and that's what puts everybody into a turmoil.
And that's what needs to be changed most of all is the federal scheduling. There is no way that cannabis should be scheduled as a Schedule I that has no medical use when I have a booklet here that has hundreds of studies in it about medical use.
It's been passed, and that's our job, is to enforce the law, but we're struggling with how to best do that effectively and while maintaining the rights of the citizens, but also taking the proper enforcement action that needs to be done.
You smell something? Huh? You smell something in there? Are you familiar with the medical marijuana law? Where's your card?
The issue of medical marijuana is cutting edge, and the people of the state have clearly spoken. 63% believe people should be allowed to smoke marijuana for medicinal purposes, and I'm not going to fight that.
That you mentioned, it's illegal. 14 states in the District of Columbia.
So how could the state set up this?
Well, there's an argument to that point, and that's not when I'm not a lawyer. I'm not engaging in that argument. I mean, there are some will say that if a state legalizes, like California is potentially legalizing marijuana entirely, that by its very nature will prohibit them from federal aid of any kind.
Well, that's the way they can fight back, I suppose.
But I think that's already in the law.
But I think with the voters, and I can't get into the mind of 62% of Michigan voters, I can't get into their mind. But I think when they saw the word medical, they thought there'd be some medical distribution, a pharmacy perhaps, a doctor's office, but not some gas station converted to a dispensary. That just makes a mockery of the whole thing. If the public knew that's where it was going to go, they wouldn't have 62.
It's not okay to arrest patients. It's not okay to arrest caregivers. You shouldn't even be looking at it.